Terry French, 22-year Navy veteran, is going to sing the national anthem for us.
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Why are you here today, sir?
Well, because make sure people are registered to vote. If you're too busy working, you reduce yourself to being a means of production for someone else. So you better vote. That's what it is to be a citizen.
How's everybody doing? Man, look at this. You guys, in Scripture, there's a story about Benaiah who went down into the lion's den on a snowy day. I love that. Let's embrace the weather here. We will never, ever, ever give up. We will never back down in defending our right to bear arms.
And why are you here today?
Well, because they're trying to take all of our rights away that were given to us by God and our Constitution.
It is right and it's good what you're doing here. This is the kind of assembly and the articulation of the values that are essential to us that make this republic the greatest mechanism for protecting individual rights and liberties in the world. And we have to fight to keep it that way. I know that you'll join that fight. That's the fight I'm involved with you, and that's the fight, that's the eternal fight for individual civil liberties and rights in this state and this country.
Why are you here today?
Well, I come every year to the gun rights rally, and I'm actually a founding member of the Gun Rights Coalition with Rick and a few of the other guys. And I am just sick to death of these Democrats trying to take our gun rights.
Today we find ourselves very far removed from the righteous path of freedom that our founders created. Instead of being called public servants, those in this building are now called public officials, trying to make you and I believe that they hold the political power. It was the citizens who created this government and who gave the elected servants very limited powers in order to accomplish very limited and specific tasks. And the citizens told those servants that their main duties were to protect the rights of us.
Why are you here today?
To protect the rights of my daughter, to protect my Second Amendment. And not just the Second Amendment, it's just everything. That's what is in our Constitution. We start with the Second Amendment, we move to the First Amendment, and then later what? We become a tyrannic? No. The base of the country is its Constitution.
So it was interesting, the Seattle Times said that calling Matt Shea a domestic terrorist actually has made him more popular. I love that. I love that. They're finally figuring it out. And the fact is, they're trying to label us all domestic terrorists. They're trying to use those labels and then use red flag laws to silence opposition. It is a Marxist tactic. It is a Marxist strategy, and we are always going to fight Marxism in America. The socialists will not win.
I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and without a gun, I am very vulnerable. And so I have my gun by my bed, and I'm not complying, and I won't comply with these unconstitutional gun laws. So I'm here to stand with everyone else who's standing for our gun rights, and I'm here to stand with Matt Shea, too.
Because as you know, and as some of your signs even say, an unarmed populace are subjects. An armed populace are free citizens.
A lot has happened over the last year. We all watched the 1639 went into place. We also watched as our sheriffs across the state unified, saying they were not going to enforce this unconstitutional initiative.
First of all, it's an absolute lack of knowledge in firearms. Okay, my firearm has never shot anybody, and it never will shoot anybody.
What is your firearm?
This is an AR pistol, AR-15 pistol.
Right.
It's suppressed. I have 30-round magazines in it. It's shot a lot of paper.
To ensure the servants perform their jobs properly, the citizens codified into law exactly what they expected them to do. And before anyone could even run for elected office, those citizens codified into law requiring that each candidate swear a sacred oath to the Constitution, to the law that they wrote, to the Constitution of Washington State, and the Constitution of the United States of America, which is the supreme law of the land. One of those rights that our public servants swore a sacred oath to protect was the right of individuals to keep and bear arms without infringement.
I see a sign above us here. I'm going to pan back to show it. It says, armed minorities are harder to oppress.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
So honestly, throughout history, just like these examples here, these were all people who were unarmed and they ended up getting massacred or oppressed. Throughout history, governments, they tend to oppress people who are unarmed because they can't protect themselves. Sure, the pen is mightier than the sword, but if they take away your platform, there really isn't much to do. So it really is a human right to be able to defend yourself in any way you see fit.
I am here to be able to speak to a whole lot of people that care a whole lot about our right to be able to protect ourselves and the government's assault on it. It seems incessant that Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson seem to have one basic goal in life, and that's to take away basic rights that are guaranteed under our state and federal constitution. It's maddening.
There were many of us from multiple organizations that went around to county councils all across the state, and with varying success, we were able to pass Second Amendment sanctuary counties.
Do you believe in the police, or do you think they're working for our benefit?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. When we have a police force that says they're going to uphold a red flag law that's already been deemed unconstitutional in California and other states by Supreme Courts, and they're saying, yeah, they're going to uphold it because they don't want to lose their paycheck. They said they said an oath to protect the Constitution, just like I did when I joined the military. And if they're willing to uphold a red flag law that's unconstitutional, they just broke that oath.
Some of these bills that we're seeing, the bill that will try to ban so-called assault weapons, the bill that will try to ban so-called high-capacity magazines, they're trivial, little, small in mind, small in spirit pieces of legislation. What they are trying, and they're not even really about firearms. What they are about is control.
Why do we have to have a rally for something that we should already have absolutely guaranteed? It's flippin' crazy. It drives me nuts. And it's because we keep electing people that do not respect the basic rights that we have.
An unconstitutional law is an unconstitutional law, and our Second Amendment says shall not be infringed.
Yesterday, I don't know who all here is aware, but those inside passed Senate Bill 64, or no, never mind, not passed. Senate Bill 6406 was introduced. There is no text on this Senate bill. It's a ghost bill. Guess what the title is? Quote, concerning firearms.
The people who promote that bad public policy want to control how you live, how you work, the God you praise, the home you build. They want to control all these things.
A firearm is the woman's great equalizer, because we're not as strong as men. We aren't. I know there are people who want to say we're just same, and we're equal. Well, we're equal as human beings, but we're not equal in our strength. And you can put a dress on yourself and call yourself a ham sandwich for all I care, but that doesn't negate the fact that testosterone is a very powerful chemical, and I don't have it, although but
and what do we say to those would-be tyrants who would control you?
No! And what is this gun, if I may ask?
This is an AR-15. The lower receiver is a home built, but the upper is a BCM. I like to buy quality firearms because I believe, if you're going to buy something, you might as well buy the best if you can afford it. it should last you decades, if possible.
Have our public servants faithfully performed their sworn duties to protect our rights? No! Are you okay with that?
No! In a situation where a man tries to overpower you or beat you up or whatever, they back off when the gun is pointed in their face.
We've seen them tried in Virginia, where the populace, where the voters, where the people sort of fell asleep at the switch. They fell asleep on their watch, and they allowed the would-be tyrants to get the levers of their state government and begin a process that we've all been watching carefully, in which the controllers, the would-be tyrants, have overstepped legal, ethical, and moral boundaries, and now are paying the consequence, paying the price for their overreach.
Now, I want to tell you a quick story. How many of you have ever heard of Vladimir Vinnikov? Maybe a couple of you? 1941, Operation Barbarossa, the National Socialists invade Ukraine. And they come to Kharkiv, Ukraine, and they come to a house. The Nazi sympathizers try to take the cow of a family in that town. And a young man, Vladimir Vinnikov, all he had was a pitchfork, a wooden pitchfork, because of course they'd been disarmed by then. And the Nazi sympathizers tried to take the cow. He fought them off with the pitchfork. And then real Nazis came back and arrested him. And as he's sitting in the basement of a makeshift prison, his mom comes to the window of that basement window of this makeshift prison, which was really a house. And he's crying, and he says to his mom, "I'm so sorry, Mom, I shouldn't have fought back." And she said, "Son, never apologize for defending your family."
We've seen that kind of overreach down in California, where the would-be tyrants, the would-be controllers, ran a very similar high-capacity magazine bill to the one we see here now. And even the progressive and left-leaning, gun-grabbing California State Supreme Court found that bill down there unconstitutional.
And I've shot an AR-15, and I love it because I had a Mossberg 500 and it just like dislocated my shoulder. So I prefer the AR-15 over a shotgun. So Joe Biden can kiss my ass.
Slaves don't dare speak back to their masters. Slaves do exactly as their masters demand. On the other hand, free people will rise up. Free people will confront their faithless servants and demand their loyalty. As a free man or woman, are you willing to confront your faithless servants and demand their loyalty to the sacred oath they swore to you and me?
Yes! What do you think of President Trump?
I love it. I love that guy. I seriously, God bless President Trump, and I really think that he really wants to help what this country made for, what this country is. A place for liberty, for a chance for everybody, not just for a few elite people.
Now, the National Socialists took Vladimir into slave labor for years. And when he was finally able to come home, you know what he came home to? A family. Because the Nazis left the cow when they took Vladimir. Vladimir was my father-in-law.
Do you support our president?
Oh, absolutely.
You think he's doing a good job?
I think he's doing a good job, even being hamstringed by the Democrats. I mean, we've got a Congress that is absolutely asinine crazy. They have fallen off the deep end, you know, Trump derangement syndrome.
And when they came to take the cows of Ammon Bundy in Nevada, I wasn't going to stand by and back down. When they came to take the liberty of the Hammond family, which was pardoned by President Trump, thank God, I wasn't going to be sitting on my duff back in Washington State. When they came to take the firearms rights of a veteran in North Idaho, I was going to stand with the county sheriff and say, no, that's not going to happen on our watch.
So what do we do when our representatives no longer follow the will of the people? Mark Twain says it great. Politicians in diapers should be changed regularly and for the same reason.
They didn't get elected. They didn't get their power. So it's been a constant, just line of bullshit from the left. And it's just not going to work.
Are you slaves to these tyrants, fearing reprisals if you speak up and say no? Are you cowards who tremble in fear because the servants have disobeyed their sacred oaths to protect our rights?
What do you think of the wall being built? Do you think it's necessary for our southern border?
Yes, it is. I'm going to tell you why. Because coming from that place, I know how things going over there. I came here not to see what is over there. And it's got to tell everybody, you came to this country, you came to love this country, to respect this country. You don't come here to do or to create this country the same way that you used to be.
Or are you free men and women who will stand up to these tyrants? Yes! Here today, the officers are over here. Go back there after this rally is done. Find your representatives. Don't ask them what they feel about this, that, or the other. Tell them what you expect them to do.
The wall is necessary because it forces people to go to the right way. You're a refugee, go be a refugee. We can do it. But don't just jump the fence and then you request the same privilege that we work hard to get.
This isn't about one person. It's not about President Trump or Matt Shea. It's about we the people. We're just standing in the way. We all need to be on the line, standing for the right to bear arms, standing for all of our liberties, the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to property, and the ability to defend the same. That is what it means to be American.
So those of you who know me know I like to follow the path less traveled. I got that from my father. He was a great man, and he was a great leader. He taught me to fight for what's right and what's just, to choose the hard right over the easy wrong, and to never fear adversity so long as my path was righteous. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
Their ideas of socialism and open borders and free health care for everybody won't work in that situation. I mean, there's some countries in the world with closed borders that, yes, they can do Medicare for all, but they're paying a 60% tax rate, 70% tax rate, and they've got closed borders. They're not handing out free health care to illegal immigrants or anybody else. And yes, in that sort of situation, it will work, but not here.
So there's hope. There's hope. This overreach on the part of the would-be tyrants is unconstitutional, unethical, and immoral. And even some of our progressive friends are beginning to wake up and see this. So it's not a matter of Republican or Democrat. It's not a matter of left or right. It's a matter of freedom versus tyranny.
Do you have any relatives in Mexico?
Yes.
Do they still love you?
Yes. They know that I voted for Trump, and they are agreeing with me because we know. I watch the news how many people lost their kids because they've been kidnapped to use it as a pound for cross the border.
And I welcome, and I encourage all of you to welcome all people of goodwill, whatever their background, whatever their politics, whatever their philosophy, to join us and protect those foundational values that make this country and this state great. Let's not be divisive. That's their game. That's the tyrant's game. Let's be unified. Let's be optimistic. And to all of you, I mean this. Let's be happy. The truth is on our side. The law is on our side. And God's grace is on our side.
We see how many people hanging on the bridge, dead because the cartel fighting each other. Right now, it's something common to see in those cities. No, we didn't see that for 10, 15 years ago. Thanks, Fast and Furious.
I talked about this weaponization of political labels. Label lynching. We shouldn't be surprised they're trying to do that because they can't win when we argue the truth. We got the truth on our side. They can't win. All they can do is label us. So don't be surprised if you get labeled. Don't let it distract you. Keep fighting. Keep up the fight. Go in and talk to your legislators.
So with that, I am formally announcing my candidacy for state representative. Second legislative district, position 2. I'm going to follow 3 main principles. Number 1, obey the Constitution. Number 2, follow the will of the voters in the 2nd legislative district. And number 3, do what is ethical. If you would like to help me on this journey, it's going to be uphill. But one thing I've never done is go after the small fight.
And I'm going to say this. You know, I find it interesting that Antifa hasn't been investigated. After all the things they've done, I find it interesting the John Brown Gun Club hasn't been investigated when somebody who is wearing their baseball cap tries to firebomb a federal facility in Western Washington. I find it interesting the Socialist Rifle Association hasn't been investigated, even though a member of that organization issued a death threat against me and my family. I find it interesting that Redneck Revolt hasn't been investigated, even though they posted a terror training manual online. That is interesting, don't you think? Yeah. I think so too.
And never forget, those who hid Anne Frank during World War II were breaking the law. And those who killed Anne Frank were following it. Thank you, Patriots, for showing up in this wonderful Scottish weather. I'm Robert J. Sutherland from the 39th. I love this kind of weather. Thank you for being here, and it's time for us to get to work. Thank you.
When you finish here, go into the offices back there and over there, and with a good spirit and with a happy temperament, speak to your legislators. Don't bicker with them. Don't fight with them. Encourage them. Speak to their better angels. Encourage them to defend our Constitution, to defend our foundational values, to join together and share those principles that founded this country and this state. I know you know what to do. Go do it and be the happy warriors who take the day. Thank you, and God's grace on you. And get to work.
The fact of the matter is, the real enemies of this country aren't being investigated. The real enemies of this country aren't being looked into. The real enemies of this country aren't being reported on by the media. The real enemies of this country want to destroy the Constitution. They want to destroy everything we believe in. I love this country. I served 2 tours overseas in combat, and I came back, and this is a new battlefield for us, isn't it? And this new battlefield, this political battlefield, we should never back down. We should never quit. We should never give in to those that want to destroy our Constitution. We need to stand up for it because we love this country, we love America, and we want our children to experience freedom as well. God bless you guys. Thank you for being out here. We'll see you later.
So, as we set out this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away, I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed, and especially for you, Mr. Gore. From my cold, dead hands.
Thank you.